Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Early Edge College Football Picks Show. It's our very first of the year. We're always brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. My name is Sia Najad, and I got to tell you, I'm going to be taking a back seat in this show. Very excited to bring on the stars of the show, our college football experts here at CBS Sports and SportsLine. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Mike McClure, we've got Emory Hunt, and we've got Tom Casale. And gentlemen, we had week 0, but Tom, I'm going to start with you. How excited are you? I know you like to plant yourself on the couch for, I don't know, about 5-6 months straight. We're in the thick of it now, right?
Yeah, week 0 is fun because you get a little taste, but the first full Saturday that's always a special day. And I have to say, this Saturday, especially with all these huge games to kick off the regular season, it's going to be a great day. And, listen, a lot of people associate me with college basketball because I've been on a good run the last couple of years, but my favorite sport by a mile is college football. Always has been. I mean, I'll miss weddings on Saturdays to stay home and watch college football. So I'm excited and ready to go.
I mean, you're being very modest with that college basketball win-loss record. You have been very good. We're matching. This is a very bright show, Emory. You've got the red on. There's a couple of oranges in here. How you feeling today, and how you feeling going into this college football season?
I'm feeling great. I'm in mid-season form because, as you guys know, I cover CFL, UFL, European League of Football. So we are already revved up, ready to go. This is a mid-season outfit, by the way.
That's amazing. You're always just dressed so perfectly. Mike McClure, are you feeling out of place here with, just your standard, white shirt? And we got all these bright colors. I'm actually glad you didn't bring a bright color because it would have looked ridiculous. How you feeling going into CFB week 1?
Feeling great, Sia. Definitely missed the memo on the red today, but that's okay. I'm feeling great. Look, Emory's in midseason form. We've got Tom Casale up here. Tom's got me fired up to sit on the couch and eat some chicken wings. I know Tom will have some chicken wings ready. Look, I love this week. There are so many huge games. It feels like midseason, which I think is the best feeling. Love the slate, though. Ready to go.
Mike, I'm going to start with you. We're going to get into some storylines before we talk about some of the games of the week and some of the sort of the undercard games, if you will, that we're going to be paying attention to over the next 4 or 5 days. Mike, Kansas State. We know in week 0, they took the L to Iowa State. They're now plus 1,100 to win the Big 12. I know this team, Kansas State, is a team that you've been somewhat high on over the last couple of years. Now that they've dropped from plus 600 to plus 1,100 to win the Big 12, any value there?
I think the price point is appropriate here. See, I'm definitely concerned with Dylan Edwards not playing in the game, essentially. He muffed the punt on the opening drive, did not play an offensive snap. But I wouldn't bet it at this point. I think there's no real reason to rush to bet this, right? When you look at the upcoming schedule, North Dakota and Army, if they win both of those games like they should, the odds are not going to change really at all. And if they lose, the season is essentially over in terms of winning at that point. So I personally would wait. Let's see what they look like. Let's see what the rest of the league looks like through 2 more games. And you'll have a very similar opportunity a little bit later in the season. Again, North Dakota and Army, neither one of those teams with a win is going to change this number really at all.
Emory, you agree with this sentiment?
Totally agree. And Mike laid it out perfectly because when you think about, okay, if they win those 2 games, they're kind of expected to win those 2 games. But when you look at the rest of the league, that is what really moves the number. So we have to see what the rest of the league looks like in their week 1 matchups and how they look and how dominant, because he's right. This is not going to move much of, if anything, in regards to having to go bet it now. So that's why I say you got to wait till a little bit more has been played before you kind of go rush to go bet K-State at a big number.
Tom, Emory brings up a good point, an obvious one, but a good one nonetheless, because sometimes we look at these things in a vacuum and it's like, oh, there's other teams in the Big 12 that might have better numbers or numbers we want to take advantage of. Your thoughts on this number on Kansas State, and perhaps more importantly, are there other teams you like more?
Yeah, I like the number. I don't think it's a bad number on Kansas State. There are a couple teams I like a little more, like Arizona State and Utah. I did heading into the season. Listen, it was a close game. It went down to a couple plays. The thing for me with Kansas State is I can't put my finger on it the last 2 seasons. They just don't remind me of a Chris Kleinman type team. I don't know if it's they don't know how to use the quarterback correctly, or, his teams are usually tough. They run the football. They have really aggressive defenses. And there's just been something missing the last 2 years. And I can't put my finger on it, but listen, it's not a bad number, but I prefer a couple other teams more than Kansas State.
Let's move along to Heisman watch. I'm sure we'll inject some Heisman Trophy numbers as we go through the season here. Emory, big game, Texas-Ohio State. We're going to talk about it a lot in a few minutes. Arch Manning is plus 600. He's the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. Do you see this game, Texas-Ohio State, as sort of a make or break, at least with respect to Arch Manning and winning the Heisman?
Only if they win the game, because they want to give Arch Manning the Heisman. They want this to happen so bad. So if they lose, it won't count. But if they win, he'll stay number one for the entire season. The path has already been laid out for Arch Manning for him to win the Heisman Trophy. So I don't think a loss matters. If they win, oh man, it's going to go through the roof. So that's the crazy thing we're going to do with Arch Manning all season long. If he wins, it matters. If he doesn't, well, they're going to find any other reason to not make it about him. So I think this game doesn't matter only if they win that game.
Tom, it feels like that's a pretty great point. It does feel like all signs are pointing to the voters kind of wanting Arch Manning to win this award. What are your thoughts, at least as it pertains to this game against Ohio State?
Yeah, I wrote a Heisman Trophy article for SportsLine yesterday, and it's an interesting week, right? Because you have Manning, you have Jeremiah Smith, you have Klubnik, you have Nussmeier, and they're playing each other. So in terms of betting the Heisman, you almost never have to bet it before week one, but you kind of have to look at these games, and if you like one of these guys, if they win, their odds are going to drop, quite a bit, especially Arch. Emory mentioned the narrative. There's definitely the narrative there. And what Arch has is he has two games spaced perfectly. He has the opening game against Ohio State, which the whole country is going to watch. Then he has Georgia in November. Those are really the two games for him. I agree with Emory. If he plays well and they lose a close game on the road to the defending champions, his odds aren't going to drop a lot. But if he wins, you can forget about it. It's coming down to that November game against Georgia, and that's going to be the Heisman Trophy game.
Mike, Tom referred to the odds in terms of, like, if they win, those odds get cut in half. Do you look at that as a literal truth in terms of it's plus 600 now if they win this game against Ohio State? Do you think the odds adjust to around plus 300?
I personally do. Yeah, I think they literally cut in half. I think he becomes the absolute clear-cut favorite. And, everyone's mentioned kind of the big games in college football this week. This will overshadow everything. And it's kind of sad because you've got Nussmeier and Klubnik together. And if one of those guys has a great game, it simply doesn't matter in the terms of the Heisman. If Texas beats Ohio State on the road and Arch Manning, say he has a rushing touchdown in this game, passing touchdown, whatever it may be, the narrative is there. He's got the ultimate name value. It's going to matter. And then the schedule sets up so friendly. Like, this is the toughest test of the season. I think it's the most important game of the season for the Texas Longhorns. I think if they go win this game, they can comfortably lose to Georgia later in the year, get in that college football playoff, and Arch can go win the Heisman. So for me, yes, I would expect this number to literally cut in half if he has a good game and they win on the road at Ohio State.
Let's move from Heisman to hot seat. Emory, I'm going to start with you again here. Hugh Freeze in Auburn. Hugh Freeze making it onto some of those hot seat lists already. I just want to get your take, maybe a little rapid fire here, 30 seconds or less. How are you feeling about Auburn in terms of their ability to start hot this season? And we talk about hot this season, hot on the road against Baylor coming up.
Not good at all. They're going to lose this ball game. I like Baylor in this one by a lot because they have a stable quarterback situation, and they're very good on both sides of the ball. Emphasis on stable quarterback situation, that'll be the key in this ball game.
Mike, talk to me. What are you thinking? Where are you leaning on this Baylor-Auburn game?
I lean the other way. Certainly not a strong take on the Auburn side, but ultimately think they still have, a slightly better athlete at really every position across the board. The desperation to start the season in a big way. So would lean Auburn at the current price points.
Tom, what's your lean?
Yeah, I lean Auburn only because I like their defense. Baylor's one of those teams I don't really have a great grasp on yet, so I'm waiting to see this game. Emory certainly has a stronger opinion on it than I do on the Baylor side, but I do lean Auburn only because I really like that defense coming back.
All right. Well, we're going to talk more games coming up next. We're actually going to talk about some of the games of the week. Coming up next on the Early Edge College Football Picks Show, we got Texas-Ohio State. We're going to give you picks in that one. We're going to give you picks in Alabama, Florida State. It's all coming up next with Emory, Mike, and Tom on the Early Edge. We're back on the Early Edge here on CBS Sports Network. Emory Hunt, Mike McClure, and Tom Casale. And I promised everyone we were going to get to the games of the week. And we start with kind of where we ended. Let's start with Texas-Ohio State. And Tom, I'm going to start with you. We got about a 47.5 point total here at BetMGM. It's a 2-point spread. What do you like in this one?
So Texas was the first team I gave out this season, but I got them at +3. Now it's +2. Listen, this is going to be a close game. It's going to be a good game. I just thought the spread should be closer to a pick'em based on my numbers on a neutral field. So especially at 3, I thought there was value on the horns. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I do like Arch Manning to be the difference. Listen, it's hard to criticize a kid like Quinn Ewers who had such a great career at Texas, but I thought in big games he limited the offense a little bit. He struggled sometimes in those bigger games. It'll be interesting to see if Arch brings that extra element with his legs here against a good Ohio State team. So I do like Texas still at +2, but I wouldn't go any lower than that.
Emory, are you on Tom's side here, or are we taking Ohio State?
I'm taking Ohio State simply because of, and I'm going against my own logic, simply because they're playing at home. I think all things being equal, this is Arch Manning's first true significant road test in a game environment like Ohio State up in Columbus. And they have the best defensive player in the country in Caleb Downs, who's probably going to be the spy, so to speak, in this matchup with Arch Manning's ability to run the football in terms of playing the alley. And then you look at the other side of things, they have the best receiver in Jeremiah Smith, the best offensive player in the country, arguably. I just like this matchup for both teams. I'm a big fan of Texas and what they're going to do long term. I like Arch Manning's athleticism in conjunction with a healthy backfield that they have now, so the run game is going to be outstanding. I just think this is a tough matchup for him. In Texas, on the road, I do like Ohio State.
Mike, you got to break the tie here.
I'm going to break the tie with Texas. Look, I liked it a lot more at 3 like Tom did when he played it early. But look, there's no argument with what Emory said. They do have home field advantage. They do have the best offensive player in the country. They have the best defensive player in the country. And I'm still going to go the other way because we have a little bit too much unknown in a big spot at the quarterback position, which we know how valuable the quarterback position is in college football. It'd be one thing if they had a dominant running game and a dominant running back as the best player in college football offensively, but someone still has to get the football to Jeremiah Smith. That is the issue for me here. I don't know what we have in Sayin. I do know what we have in Arch Manning, in my opinion. I think he's had enough. He's been around the program long enough, and I think he's got the X factor, which is his legs. I think that all things fail, Texas is still going to be able to move the football or at least take some time of possession and give that defense a break because of their ability to run the football. So give me Texas here, +2. Like Tom, I thought this game should have been a pick'em despite the road environment in Ohio.
Tom, a quick follow-up there, because, when I look at this game, and I'm not as ingrained as you three, but I do immediately think to myself, okay, I've got questions at the quarterback position with Ohio State. How much did that factor into your handicap here? Because, I think Arch Manning, to Emory's point, is it's an unknown commodity to some degree in terms of the number of starts he's had in big games. But Ohio State's certainly a much bigger issue when it comes to that. What were your thoughts there on Sayin at the quarterback position?
No, I agree with Mike, and I also look at the offensive line. You know me, I'm always talking about the offensive line, but they lost some key members there too. So you get a young quarterback behind a newer offensive line, and not that it really matters that much, but Texas did do a really good job covering Jeremiah Smith in the playoff. Now, I know that could go both ways, but if they can just contain him a little bit, then I think this is going to be, like I said, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. I agree with Mike about the Texas running the ball and time of possession and limiting Ohio State's possession. So, yeah, I definitely think the quarterback was a key element in this game, and we'll see what he has on Saturday.
All right, let's move along to Alabama, 13.5-point favorites at FSU. Saturday, 2:30 game here. Big spread. Mike McClure, what do we like in this one?
Big spread. Not afraid of laying it, though. I like Bama here. I really would have made the spread in this game 14.5, just firmly on the other side of 2 touchdowns. Look, I think Alabama is still very underrated coming into the season. I know that it was a down year by all accounts last season, but the roster is extremely talented, and it's really both sides of the football. This, to me, projects as a spot that they will not take the foot off the gas at all in any sense. I kind of look at this as a statement game from Alabama against Florida State, again, a team that we're used to seeing a ranked number beside. Been down a little bit here, but still some better expectations. I just think this is a spot that Alabama is clearly the better team, and they have a message to send, and they're going to try to send it. I think they're going to try, and again, keep the foot on the pedal all 4 quarters here.
All right, Emory Hunt, are you on the other side of this?
Man, I am taking United Airlines and an Uber to the comment section because either one of these fan bases will be on like hot seat watch. This is a monumental game for both of these coaches. I like Florida State though, and I've always said this. That this is one of my sentiments of calling college games and forecasting college games. Week 0, week 1, teams have all spring and summer to prepare for one opponent, and so this is a good matchup. And this is why a lot of these games either are close or we see upsets in week 0 or week 1. I'm not saying Florida State will go out there and beat Alabama, but I'm saying 13.5 points in a game of this magnitude in the opener, when you had all that time to prepare for this one opponent, knowing what they're going to do, I'm going to take Florida State to keep this one tight.
Tom, it is a lot of points, and it does feel like the 13.5, like, because it's not at 14 or 14.5. They're almost like baiting you into laying the points here. But what are your thoughts? You got to break the tie again here.
Well, they baited me because I gave out Alabama at 13.5, so I took the bait. Listen, I just think again, this is a problem for Florida State up front. Alabama has my number 1 rated offensive line coming into the country, coming into the season, and early in the year, listen, I'm going to know a lot more in 3 or 4 weeks from now than I do today, and I like to look at those lines and see, is there a big advantage? I just think Alabama is going to wear them down, especially in the fourth quarter, where they can cover this big number, and I do agree with Mike. You got to remember, Alabama just wasn't replacing Nick Saban. They lost over 30 players last year going into the season. This is a more settled roster, and I think they're a little salty about last year. So I think they're going to try to use this as a statement game, saying Bama's back, and I do think they'll cover the 2 touchdowns.
All right. That's going to be a very interesting game. Again, we got Texas-Ohio State Saturday at noon and Alabama-FSU Saturday at 2:30. But it's not just games on Saturday, folks. We got games over the next basically 4 or 5 days in college football, and we got more games to talk about. So we'll do that. But I do want to remind everyone that you can join SportsLine and you can type in the promo code winners at sportsline.com/join. And if you do that, you get 60% off the annual plan. That's 60% off the annual plan. Just go to sportsline.com/join and type in the promo code winners. It gives you all the picks, DFS plays, model picks, SportsLine model, you name it. It's got it for every single sport here at SportsLine. All right, well, we got to get to more college football. We got to get to more games of the week. That includes Texas-Ohio State, or we already covered that. LSU-Clemson, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, and Notre Dame-Miami, and much more coming up next on The Early Edge. We continue with our games of the week here on CBS Sports Network, and we get to a good one with LSU at Clemson. It's a 4-point spread, 57.5-point total. Of course, Clemson favored here. And gentlemen, when I looked at this game and I looked at what LSU lost in the offseason, granted, they got a great quarterback, so does Clemson. I really wanted to lay the points, but Tom, you're about to tell me why I might be wrong about that.
Well, these are 2 teams I really like coming into the season. I bet Clemson at plus 1,600 to win it all. What are they now, like minus 5,000? I had never seen a team with so much love coming into the season like this Clemson has. I mean, that line has really moved. But here's the thing. It's just the 4 points. I think this is going to be, with all due respect to Texas and Ohio State, I think this could be the game of the day. I think it's going to be close. And when you get the 4 points, you can be down 11 late and get that backdoor cover. I just don't see it being a blowout. You mentioned what LSU lost. They also had people come back that could have left and gone to the NFL, similar to Michigan and Ohio State the last couple of years. I like teams when that happens. They have some veteran leadership. And listen, this is going to come down to a couple plays. These are both very good teams that I could see making a title run. But at 4, that's the key number for me. I took LSU.
Mike, does this come down to 4 being a key number for you as well?
100%. I would go as far as to say is I feel pretty good about Clemson finding a way to win the football game on the field. And I think that LSU finds a way to cover. Like Tom said, 2 teams that I really like. Honestly, I think it's 2 of the 3 best quarterbacks in college football this year playing against each other. When I look at this matchup, though, Clemson is a team that, for better or worse, Dabo's playing style in these kind of games, he's still a little too conservative for my liking, and I don't see them having the ability to just simply pull away because of the style of play. And as Tom mentioned, that backdoor cover with LSU and Nussmeier, if they're trailing, that's when I like this team offensively, when they have to kind of hurry up and they have to throw the playbook out the window a little bit and let him get creative. That is when he's at his best, and that's kind of the situation I see here. It ultimately came down to the number. At 4, I would play LSU. At 3.5, I'm completely off the game. I wouldn't get to playing Clemson until it was -1. It just comes down to a very key number in this particular sport. So give me LSU +4.
Emory, I'm looking for at least one of you to agree with me. Can you help me out here? Are we laying the points?
Can we get that LSU graphic we just had up on the screen once again? Because I saw something. You know, when you think about LSU in these matchups, in these ball games against Clemson or any team that's ranked, that says 2 and 6 versus ranked teams. Boy, you better get them points and lay these things with Clemson and how they, man, LSU can't win these big games versus ranked opponents. Like, of course I'm taking Clemson in this game. This game, to Tom's point, will be very entertaining. That's not the graphic I was talking about, but this game, to Tom's point, will look like LSU versus USC. But on the field, it will play like LSU versus Texas A&M. And I think Texas A&M secondary and defense rivals what we are going to see out there with Clemson's defense and secondary against this passing game. I think that's the matchup they'll win, which is why I like them to cover.
All right, it's a showdown. Me and Emory versus Mike and Tom. Let's see how it plays out on Saturday. Let's move to Sunday, though. We got Virginia Tech at South Carolina. We talked about Heisman candidates. South Carolina certainly has one as well. They're favored by 8. It's a 52.5 point total. Again, this one's Sunday at 2 o'clock. Mike, talk to me. What do you like in this one?
You know, see, I don't have a strong take one way or the other here. Certainly one I'll be paying attention to and wanting to pay attention to South Carolina. I see the 13 ranking. I see the spread at -8. Like, is there a scenario they pull away and win this by double digits? Absolutely. That scenario definitely exists. However, when I look at my computer where I simulate everything out here, I thought 6.5 was the number that was most appropriate. I think it's going to be a little bit tighter than expectation. So if I had to play it, I would take the 8 points with Virginia Tech, but not something that's going to make my card.
Emory, I kind of agree here. I would take the 8 points is a lot here. What are your thoughts? Are we laying it or are we taking the +8 for the Hokies?
I'm taking the 8 points, and I like what the Hokies have at quarterback in Kyron Drones. He has gone under discussed over the entire offseason. Everyone's talking about Lenora Sellers, and justifiably so, but Drones can play too. And Drones in that offense have some weapons, and no one wants to get the first game out of the taste out of their mouth and how bad they played last year than what Virginia Tech went out there and did against Vanderbilt. That set the tone for Vanderbilt's season. So I expect them to hit the ground running against South Carolina. This is going to be a very tight game because Coach Brent Pry is on the hot seat. Unfortunately, I'm a big Brent Pry guy, but I like the fact that they kind of match up stylistically on offense versus South Carolina, and I think this will be a lot closer than people think.
Tom, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I don't have a strong play on this game. I agree with everything Mike and Emery said. I lean the over. One of the things about South Carolina is they had the nastiest defensive front in college football last year. I mean, those guys dominated games. The problem is they're playing in the NFL now. And I think that opens up some opportunities for Virginia Tech to have some success offensively. I do think South Carolina will have some success offensively. So I lean the over, but I'm kind of with Mike. South Carolina is like a hold team for me. Like I know they got a lot of hype, but I kind of want to watch them for a while because I think they could start the year off fast, but there'll be some chances to fade them later on in the season.
You want hype? Let's go back the last, I don't know, 40 years and talk about Notre Dame and the Miami Hurricanes. Notre Dame laying 2.5 points here, 49.5 point total. This one's Sunday at 6:30. Mike, I'm going to start with you again. What are we doing with this one?
This happens to me. It seems like every year, either week 1 or week 2, there's one game where I just have a significant edge. And if it were later in the season and I had this kind of edge, I would immediately run to my computer and figure out where I made a mistake, where the computer is wrong, where's the data being input incorrectly. I think Notre Dame is by far the better team here. I think that Miami lost so much, and it's hard to really put into perspective what Cam Ward was doing for that offense last season. I love Marcus Freeman in a big game, though. This is absolutely what he lives for. And Notre Dame is a team that travels extremely well. I expect this to be a lot closer to a neutral site environment. So I look at the money line price here at minus 130. That's 56.5%. The lowest I could make the argument on this game is 60%, which is a minus 150 money line. However, I think it's north of 65%. I think this game should be a touchdown spread. I love Notre Dame here, minus 130.
Emory, I saw you vigorously nodding your head there. It sounds like you, or at least it looks like you agree.
Just because Carson Beck goes from eating cookout to now eating arroz con pollo with platanos maduros, it don't matter. It's still Carson Beck. So I am trusting Notre Dame to win this one by double digits. This game, to me, looks a lot like what Notre Dame went down there and did to Texas A&M. And Mike is excellent on his point. Marcus Freeman is a big game coach, and we've seen him win these big games strictly on run game and defense. And they have the best running back in the country and a very good NFL back behind him as well. And that defense is going to be stifling. I like Notre Dame to win big, so I'm definitely laying these 2.5 points.
Tom, I cheated a little bit, and I looked at the rundown. You kind of like Miami, but right now you don't like them enough to bet them.
Yeah, I'm on the CBS island with Miami. I know most people don't like it. Listen, I'm actually higher on Notre Dame overall than Miami. Win or lose this game, I think Notre Dame could run the table. And I'm kind of hoping they lose so we get a better price in the futures market with them. It's just I kind of like the under here, but I missed the good number. It's fallen quite a bit. And you got CJ Carr making his first start on the road against a very good defensive line. If this number got to 3, I would be interested in Miami again for that backdoor cover. I do think it's going to be closer than the other two. I think Miami top 10 talent they have there. It's just that they have talent. Can they put it all together? They do have the more experienced quarterback. I like Notre Dame for the long haul, but I think Miami could get them in week 1. We'll see.
You mentioned Carr. I think this week 1 and perhaps the next few weeks are so intriguing at the quarterback position. And that's like Captain Obvious, right? That's the most important position in all of sports. But some of these quarterbacks are just so unproven. We have no idea what to expect. We think we know what to expect, but we certainly don't know. We have some known commodities as well. But I think these first few weeks are going to tell a lot about how the season's going to go in 2025. All right, we got to get to our best bets. Tom, Mike, and Emory, every year, we take stock of every single bet or every single best bet we make, and it's week 1, so it's our first chance to get out our best bets. We're going to do that next with Emory, Mike, and Tom on the Early Edge. We're back on the Early Edge, and it's time for our college football best bets update. And this is just a sad scene, folks. 0 wins for Mike, Emory, and Tom now. Granted, 0 losses. It's all about perspective, but let's build off of really no picks yet. Let's bring in Emory. Mike and Tom, so that we can get some picks on the board. Gentlemen, you saw it. Emory, 0 wins. It's not very good.
Hey, man, listen, we're going to get wins. We're going to pile up these wins, guys. Like, don't worry about that. We about to get these. This is our favorite segment. This is the one folks always asked about when they subscribe to the show. And so we're going to give them what they want.
Let's give them what they want. And we're going to start with you, Emory. We're going to go around the horn for one pick, and then we're going to go around the horn again for your second best bet. Emory, I'm starting with you. We're not talking about Texas and Ohio State on this one. We're talking about some of the smaller schools. You've got the floor.
Yeah, guys, listen to me now. Believe me later on. This is where you grab the value on these small schools that no one talks about because there's nothing but money waiting for you on the other side. Let's start with Kent State, right? If they win this ball game, which I expect they will best their win total last year, which was 0. And this team, I think, will be a lot better than what we saw last year. They had a lot going on, both figuratively and literally. Just do your Googles and see what was going on at Kent State last year. But now they have a new coach in place. Very good on the offensive line, defensive line. I think that's the key here against Merrimack, who's a solid FCS school, but they'll get pushed around a little bit in the trenches. Kent State laid these 6.5 points for the Golden Flashes, topping their win total last year.
Absolutely love this. This is amazing. Topping their win total just by winning week 1. Mike, it sounded like last segment that Notre Dame was going to be one of your best bets. So give it to us. Is this one of your two?
It is. See, Notre Dame minus 130 on the money line. It just comes down to these two programs and where they're at. And a phrase that I use sometimes, pretty often, I'll pay to find out here. At minus 130, I will pay to find out if Miami and Carson Beck are ready to play at this particular level. When I look at the two teams and the two coaching staffs, Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, very prepared, very disciplined. When you talk about Miami and Mario Cristobal, always all the talent in the world, always coming in and underperforming, to me, an undisciplined team a lot of the time. I don't think they've got what it takes defensively, though, to stop the run. When I look at Notre Dame, as Emory mentioned earlier, one of the best backfields in college football, and we know that they have the ability to go run the football. And I just talk about how disciplined this team is week in and week out. They understand how big this game is for them. If they win this one, they're pretty much on cruise control to the college football playoff. I will pay to find out here at this price point. It should be well north of $1.50. Give me Notre Dame here minus 130.
I mean, I'm convinced. I'm running out and betting this. Tom, we're laying the points with Alabama, 13.5.
Yeah, listen, I just wanted to make sure Ty Simpson was going to win the starting job before I bet this. So listen, I don't know if he's going to be a superstar. Obviously, they have Keelan Russell waiting in the wings. He'll be the quarterback of the future. But what I like about Simpson is he can run a little bit. And I think that's what you're going to see from Alabama this year. They're going to use that offensive line. They're going to run the football. They're going to play defense. I mean, their defense is really, really good. And here's the thing about Alabama. All the smart people I know love Alabama. You know, Mike likes Alabama. Chip loves Alabama. You know, all the smart bettors I talk to love Alabama this year. So I take that into account. I think they're going to pull away in the second half and cover the 13.5.
All right. We're laying the points. Emory, we're going to go back to you for your second best bet. Speaking of best, we're going to the Sun Best Conference.
And I've already taken a couple of aspirin and Flintstone vitamins to prep for the pain it's going to cause me for speaking glowingly of UL Monroe. Like, my goodness, they got me talking about the Warhawks football program here on this show. But I love them in this spot. They're laying the 23. I will lay the 23.5 points for them against St. Francis. This is why St. Francis is transitioning from FCS to D3. So a lot of those players that was on that football team last year that beat Kent State, by the way, in week 1 last year, are no longer on this squad. So this is a shell of itself in that football program. So what a better way for UL Monroe to take advantage of a downtrodden program than laying these 23.5 points. Go Warhawks. So ever ask me to say that again?
I can't believe you said it in the first place. I love the take, though. Mike, talk to me about Boise State, not a team we've talked about yet on this show.
Yeah, I didn't think this was a play I was going to get to, honestly, Sia, but now the market has responded pretty strongly. It's Boise State minus 5.5. 6 becomes a very key number in a college football game like this, in my opinion. I'm going to pay to find out once again, because while they lost a lot, it's difficult to replace a guy like Ashton Jeanty at the college football level, particularly at this level of college football. But the rest of the team is largely still intact, particularly at starting quarterback. They had a lot of depth. I think they still have a lot of depth here. The one talking point that I do think could be a problem early, which is why I'm only isolating the full game, it's going to be extremely hot in Florida. In Tampa, we're talking heat index, 100 to 110 degrees. Always something to consider early when you talk about conditioning at the start of a season. I just think this Boise team, this program in general, is a focus group that always comes in prepared. And I thought this number should have been 7 at a minimum. I made the game 7.5, but through those key numbers of 6 and 7, I think that we're overvaluing what Ashton Jeanty meant on an individual game basis like this. Give me Boise State here minus 5.5.
All right. We're laying the 5.5 with Boise State. And Tom, you've got a pick in this Texas-Ohio State game, and some may have heard it earlier. I want you to be careful, though. You might be banned from the state of Ohio if you give this pick out. Now that you've had that disclaimer, what's the play?
Yeah, I like Texas. I love those last two picks from Emory and Mike too. Those I might play those myself. But listen, early in the season, I'm a bettor who I react off data and spots and angles and things of that nature. So week one, I'm just going to go purely by my numbers. And my numbers have Texas favored by 3 points on a neutral field. So I think this number should be closer to Pick'em at Ohio State. It's going to be a heck of a football game. It's going to come down to a couple of plays, but I think Arch Manning is the guy. I do. And I think that's enough of an edge at quarterback with the young kid for Ohio State making his first start. If they can just contain Jeremiah Smith, I think they run the football, they get the win on the road.
If I may, I mean, these all count the same, but just for purposes of this segment and the viewing audience, Emory, of the two picks you gave out, do you have a favorite? What would be the one that stood out the most? Is it the Kent State laying the 6.5 or UL Monroe laying the 23.5?
FCS transitioning to D3. Think about that statement. UL Monroe is an FBS team. They are going to beat the brakes off of St. Francis.
Mike, yours is the Notre Dame money line?
Yeah, it's Notre Dame money line here. See, again, this happens to me often, but it probably will be my biggest position of the entire college football season.
Wow. Let's go. Tom Casale, Alabama laying the 13.5 or Texas +2? I know you like both, but which one stood out to you the most?
Well, because I have Texas at +3, which is obviously a big difference there, I'll go Alabama with the 13.5. Anything under 2 touchdowns with Alabama, I really like.
All right. We're going to go with Alabama. Anything under 2 touchdowns. Let's take a look at those picks, formalize them via a graphic here. We've got Mike McClure on Notre Dame money line -130, and he's also got Boise State -5.5. Then we go to Emory Hunt, Kent State -6.5, and UL Monroe -23.5. Tom Casale, Alabama -13.5, and Texas +2. Those are our college football week 1 best bets. We still got to get to our dogs of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next on the Early Edge with Tom Casale, Mike McClure, and Emory Hunt, we go to our dogs of the week. It's got to be a money line play of +150 or longer. The underdog bet of the week coming up next on the Early Edge. We're back on the Early Edge, and it's time for our underdog play of the week. Let's see, where do I start? Emory, I want to start with you because you're always digging deep into these smaller schools where the lines are typically softer. So talk to me about your underdog play of the week.
Guys, these suits ain't cheap, so you got to keep winning these bets. And the value is with these small schools and these underrated games that nobody talks about or wants to watch, but that's where I come in at, right? And here's something you have to understand about Texas college football. You talk about the high school football in Texas and why it's so good and why it's so vast and so popular is because there's so much talent across the state. And because of that, it gets filtered down. So I joked about, St. Francis transitioning from FCS to D3, but if UL Monroe is playing Mary Hardin Baylor, you take Mary Hardin Baylor in the points because that's how good that D3 team is in Texas. So I'm saying all that to say Abilene Christian is built like a G5 program. Although they play in the FCS, this Wildcats football team looks like Tulsa on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and they have some key playmakers, some NFL-type playmakers on the perimeter. Graham Harrell is the offensive coordinator. We saw this team lose to Texas Tech in a very shaky way last year, 52-51. Tulsa's defense was terrible last year. It's probably still terrible. So I will take Abilene Christian to win outright versus the Golden Hurricane.
All right, Abilene Christian plus 152. Tom, we're in that plus 150 range, and we're going to LSU.
Yeah, well, first, I like Emory's play. I was picking between that and LSU, but I got to start betting his games. He's wearing suits. I've had the same shirt for 9 years, so maybe I got to go the FCS route too. Listen, normally there's a game or the underdog 4-7 points that I think has a chance to win outright. I didn't see one this week. So I went with LSU because, listen, I got this game 50-50. I got Clemson -3 at home. That's what I made the line. I took LSU plus the 4. I think it's going down late in the fourth quarter. LSU is going to have a chance to win, so I'll take them to win the game outright.
All right, LSU outright. Mike, sometimes when we use the term visionary on someone like yourself, it also means rule breaker. So you're actually not going with a money line dog. You're going with a plus 150 player longer. You played by that rule, but we're going alternate line shopping. Talk to me.
Yeah, see, look, when we come to an underdog segment, if you can't find one you like, you create your own. It's all about being creative here. Notre Dame, -7.5, plus 190. Look, I make this game closer to 7 as it is when I talk about this matchup with Miami. One of those situations I've told you I'm going to pay to find out all week here, but where I think Notre Dame has such a strong edge is the ability to run the football and remain disciplined on both sides of the ball. We've seen time and time again with Carson Beck when he was at Georgia, kind of turn into a pumpkin in some big spots under pressure. That was while playing with absolutely elite talent on the offensive line, elite talent at all of the skill position players, and an elite defense putting you in decent field position all over the board. He doesn't have all of those things anymore at this point. I think that we get a late turnover that puts Notre Dame either with a defensive score or in position to go up, instead of being up 6 points, go up 9 or 10 or 12 or 13. I think this is a spot that Notre Dame pulls away late. So give me the alt spread -7.5 plus 190.
We are all in on Notre Dame for sure, even taking the alt lines. Gentlemen, we have a couple minutes left. I do want to ask you, because again, we've got the table is set. We've got college football from here on out, and we've got a true week 1 here. Tom, the game you're most excited to watch, whether it be because you think it's just going to be an exciting game or you're intrigued by a particular matchup, what are all eyes on for you this week?
Yeah, for me, it's LSU-Clemson. I feel like, at the end of the season, when they rank the top 10 games, this could be one of them. You got 2 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks going at it, 2 just talent all over the field. I like I said, I kind of wish they weren't playing each other because they're the two teams I really like coming into the season. So I'm looking forward to this. I think if LSU loses, it's a bigger deal because if Clemson loses, they're going to go on and win the ACC anyway.
Emory, give me 30 seconds on the game you're most excited about.
I give you 9. Louisiana Rice. We ain't playing with Rice this year. Like, get them off the schedule. Get them out of here. You know what I'm saying? And this going to start the Louisiana to the playoffs bandwagon. I'll start as soon as the clock hits 00.
Wow. What a take. Mike, give me the game or matchup that you're most intrigued by.
Yeah, it's 2 games, honestly. I mean, LSU-Clemson, by far what I'm looking forward to the most. Love that night game in one of the 2 Death Valleys, obviously. But then Sunday, we're talking Notre Dame-Miami on a Sunday. That's got to get you fired up for the NFL season as well. So both of those games, I'm giving you 2 because they're on separate days.
Absolutely love it. And I love paying homage to NFL Sundays, which we're also about to capture. Check out the college football underdog picks from Mike McClure, Emory Hunt, and Tom Casale. Mike's on Notre Dame alt line -7.5 at plus 190. Emory, Abilene Christian money line plus 152 over Tulsa. And Tom Casale, LSU money line plus 150 over Clemson. What a show. What an incredible show. A big thank you to Mike McClure, Emory Hunt, and Tom Casale. We'll be delivering on the Early Edge Network show, but also on the SportsLine YouTube channel every Monday through Friday. Again, on the SportsLine YouTube channel at 10 o'clock. We've got college football picks, NFL picks, WNBA, MLB, NBA, you name it, we got it. And we'll see you next time on the Early Edge.
Show, man.
Good show.
That's energy I like.